Hello and welcome to another out-of-spec detailing video here at Clear Detailing in Windsor, Colorado. Today we've got the highly anticipated, exciting Rivian R1T in the shop. Now this car is coming in for a new car vehicle prep. It's got a couple thousand miles on it now, but I want to show you guys around this car. I think this is a pretty good candidate to show you kind of how a car comes from the manufacturer. This car has only been washed a few times, not a hand wash, not a brush car wash, but rather just kind of taken through a tunnel car wash, touchless of course, and hasn't really been touched for the most part. So we're seeing a car basically coming from the factory in a sense. A couple thousand miles like I said, but I've already looked at this thing outside, spoken with the owner, and decided, hey, this would be a great candidate to make a video on because there's quite a few things I really want to point out to you guys on this particular vehicle. Very excited about having a Rivian in the shop. My father's actually got one on order. I can't wait to have that thing around all the time. These are just the coolest trucks. I absolutely love these things. Me being a Tesla fanboy and nerd, owning one myself, this is probably one of the coolest electric vehicles on the market right now. So we're gonna bring you in, show you kind of a detailing series on this, probably a two-part series. One kind of inspecting the paint, seeing how it looks, getting that fixed, and then we'll go through all the other small little details in the second video for a new car delivery. But let's jump right into it. I'm super excited for this one. We've got forest green on forest edge interior. I'll show you around the truck, show you what the client and I discussed, and kind of go through the whole detailing process. Can't wait for this one. All right, so here's the Rivian R1T in the forest green metallic. I absolutely love this color. It's a really nice spec on this truck. I love the yellow accents on this alongside the green metallic. This thing out in the sun just looks absolutely stunning. Quick note on the wheels, because I know somebody's going to ask. These are the 21-inch aero wheels with the covers removed, noting that there's no center caps. My client's hoping that he can either get those from Rivian soon or that there is an aftermarket solution with this one. Quickly just kind of take you around the truck, showing you this thing. I know there's tons and tons of content on these. They're just such a unique vehicle. I absolutely love these. This is a really cool spec in particular, having the darker green with the lighter forest edge interior. I think this is just a really cool looking vehicle. And as you peer out the driver's seat, having the lighter green interior, seeing the dark metallic green outside is really cool. Now, one of the things I've been kind of curious with these about, and no, I didn't get the door shut there, but that's totally fine, is that these cars are having a lot of work done directly from Rivian. And what I mean work is work on the paint. They seem to be doing quite a bit of quality control in getting sanding marks, polishing, trying to make the paint look as good as possible. But from a detailing perspective, they're kind of causing a little bit more work as far as a new car delivery. Now, I've been down to our Denver service center. My dad's got one of these trucks on order, which I'm super excited. We went down there just to look at some wheel options in person, see the paint colors in person, just to see what he was looking at to order. The interesting thing down there that I was noticing, and this is always kind of the curse of the detailer, is I just pick out defects. And when I was walking around these trucks, I was noticing sanding marks and kind of either rotary marks or just kind of dull sanding spots on pretty much every single truck. I do like that Rivian is taking initiative to make these things look as good as possible. But it doesn't seem like they have the time to get them finished out to the level of, say, a detailer like myself would. Now, this truck is in to get protected, so we're doing a full paint correction, ceramic coating on the paint. We're only doing the face of the wheels. He didn't want to worry about the inside. Not a big deal on that. as well as the trim. As you'll note, the trim is already looking pretty dull. That was one of the big things he was worried about. And this being, I guess this truck has 3,000 miles on it. I believe it's only about a month or slightly longer old, but the trim is really already starting to look very dull. Now, speaking of the trim, my clients, one of their biggest concerns with this is they're seeing these kind of weird marks on the trim. And I'm going to take you around right now and show you those. So as I bring you in here, I want you to notice this edge here, how much wider that is. And actually a better example is here. We're going to talk about those in a second. Quite a few bugs on the front, not a big deal there. But we've got a ton of white marks kind of everywhere on the truck. One of the worst sections was at the back, and I want to talk about that quickly. As I come around, this plastic bedside cover, check these out. Look at all of these spots here. Now, if I pull over here, you can really see them. Look at all those marks up there. And we've got a little bit more down here, quite a bit down here as well, and here. Now, these marks are caused from polishing. This is either a compound or polish. So you guys will see me anytime I'm touching a buffer to the paint, I am taping this kind of stuff off exactly so that doesn't happen. So what I'm noticing here is that there's a lot of polishing going on directly from Rivian. One of the spots I saw outside was here. There's a nice big sanding mark here. And furthermore, you can actually see all the compounds still left where the clear bra is. These are clear bra sides from the factory. So something to note when you guys see anything like this, if you have a Rivian one on order and it comes in, sanding mark right there. I'll pull the lights in later and we can talk more about that. Look at this section here. Really, really bad. So yeah, that's kind of one of those interesting things. I get the comment a lot, and I know we're going to talk about this all the time, but why does a new car need to get a paint correction, get it done properly? It's because we have stuff like that. And it seems to me like the polishing that they're doing, or compounding maybe, is not to the level that we are able to get it. It takes a ton of time to do that. I'm probably going to spend, I don't know, close to 20 plus, maybe even 30 hours on this truck getting it absolutely perfect and protected. They don't have time to do stuff like that. I am also going to be interested, so if you guys haven't seen, we did a video over on Kyle's page, on Kyle's truck rather, over on the out of spec reviews page. When he got it in, we found quite a bit of sanding marks on his truck as well. Very interesting to see how that was. But I'm also noticing areas like this, kind of funky. I'll have to pull that in and look at that later. Seems like tons and tons of work is going on these. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna get the truck rinsed off. We're gonna wash it down, a nice 2-bucket wash, not inducing any scratches, and get this thing prepped for the actual paint correction phase. I will be turning the lights off in the bay here. I'm gonna walk around with my scan grips, pull you guys in, show you anything I'm seeing as far as polishing issues or defects like that. So let's jump right into this. I think this is gonna be a really fun project. These Rivians are just so sweet. I'm excited to finally do a paint correction on one of them and get it dialed in. So I've got the truck rinsed off here, and I want to make a quick note because this is very similar to what I saw on Kyle's R1T. The paint is pretty naked on these, so little to no protection coming directly from the factory. Notice how it's just kind of sheeting water, and it's really just sticking on there instead of beating up. Pretty common for most manufacturers. A lot of the cars sometimes, you know, when they come through a dealership, they may use a soap or something on there to do the pre-delivery inspection wash, and it will give it some sort of protection, but these come in pretty darn naked. So just wanted to show you guys that before we dry this. Got this whole truck washed up. Now we're gonna play some musical cards. We're gonna get the Tesla out of the bay, and we are gonna put the Rivian R1T in the detail bay, do a full paint inspection, and very curious to see also, I'm gonna do some paint depth reading on this to see how it kind of compared to Kyle's Rivian R1T. All right, outdoors with the Rivian R1T after the full wash process. And again, this thing, I love the color of this. It looks so nice. Super, super pretty metallic here. Don't mind the paint drip. That was from the big garage door holding some water. Now, I want to show you guys this because I've kind of looked around the truck a little bit, and I want to point a few things out right away to show you in the sun. I have not yet wiped this down with my isopropyl alcohol or coating prep to just ensure nothing's being hidden. But this is immediately after washing it. Let me pull you in here. First of all, this gloss black pillar, you'll notice, has a nice bit of haze on the bottom there. Definitely hit with a buffer. And notice the white marks right around this edge here where this has been polished. This is actually on the rubber. Lots of cleaning to do on this, as I can already see. More residue right here from compound. If I bring you guys down here, look at all the white lines around the clear bra there and around the door edge. All has been polished. Quite a bit of polishing haze here as well. So they're taking the effort to polish these out, just not to proper satisfaction. Even on all the gloss black trim, it looks like up there as well. Now this bedside over here, I did notice quite a few swirl marks in this, pretty substantial scratches in there. That'll all get rectified. Again, that's not something I can directly say that's a Rivian issue. This car's got 3,000 miles on it, right? So I don't know when this has happened. It doesn't matter. We're gonna get it taken care of. Now, something I really want to point out, and this I've seen on quite a few Rivians. This truck's not very old. Notice anything on this door edge. This was the same exact thing on Kyle's. First off, up here, that's mostly compound there, but down here, that edge has already started lifting and already has dirt under it. Rivian needs to figure that out. That's not how we do clear bra. That's not a good look on that at all. And a lot of those marks came out quite a bit, or they're really starting to show more, I mean, on them. Quick note on wheels and trim. I didn't go crazy cleaning all this. You'll notice some splatter down here. I'm really gonna have to scrub these to make sure I get all those marks out, so I didn't really worry about that in the wash process. We're gonna get the dirty work out of the way first. So didn't touch the wheels yet either, but we're gonna get the dirty work, as in compounding, out first. Also noticing up here on this rear spoiler, quite a bit of haze. There's a bunch of compound under here as well. So anytime I see that, I'm knowing that somebody's been here and polished this. Actually, as well up here, hopefully the camera will focus, in between that door edge. Lots and lots of polishing happening here, as well as on the pillars there on the rubber inside. Yeah, it's kind of everywhere, guys. So this truck's been through, I would say, maybe a little bit more polishing than I kind of expected. Kyle's definitely didn't have this much work done to it, so I'm wondering if that's a QC thing that they're doing. Good or bad, it's hard to say, right? Like, I'm glad that they're taking initiative to make these look good. They're just not getting it to the level that a professional detailer like myself is going to do. You know, overall, I would still say though, for a startup company, their paint quality looks pretty darn nice. the quality control thing when they're trying to polish these, it's tricky, right? Because like I said, I'm gonna be spending probably 20 to 30 hours on this truck, and it's relatively brand new. The paint, you know, that kind of stuff, it takes time. And when you're trying to mass produce vehicles, you don't have time to do that. But all right, so we've got it under the lights, and guys, this is why I love having different lighting abilities to look over a vehicle and really be able to see it with a keen eye here. So we looked at the car in the wash bay here, we looked at it outside, now we're in the detail bay. What I'm noticing is I'm seeing a lot of areas where there's leftover compound. So let's kind of go through this together. We'll just kind of go around this and talk. So notice here, we've got compound on the Rivian badge in here as well, and kind of right underneath in the middle there. And I haven't wiped this down yet because I wanted to show you guys all of this as we go. On the headlight here, we've got more compound right here. Under here, I had the frunk open and noticed all of this here as well. So this is all on the rubber as well. Yeah, gosh, there's so much here. And again, pulling you guys in here, that's a ton of compound there on the actual plastic. As we come up here, there's more residue here, noticing in that crack as well. This is one thing over here I didn't initially see until the car was cleaned. Look at how the clear bra is pulling up on there. So this little piece here is really pulling up. Again, love having different light to be able to show this off. On the Rivian badge, notice white mark, all around the R as well. Tons and tons of polishing going down on these things. Kind of surprising to see. It's I'm trying to understand as to, and I've never really understood this, is why manufacturers spend the time to do it but not do it right. It's just like, I don't know what they're really gaining by that. Also, I'm noticing here around the taillight, it's got this line naturally in the plastic, and there's compound shoved all the way in there. Around these little dots here, it's compound under the taillight as well. Yeah, it's kind of everywhere. Even on this, on the tailgate here, you can see it in the cracks there. It's just, it's really kind of surprising to see this. And again, like, I'm kind of lost as to why they do this to this severity. I understand if there's a denebbing mark, and I can actually see right here, see how it goes from textured to no texture and then texture. So they sanded this. I'll be curious to get my light on that after I wipe it down with IPA and see if that is still a sanding mark underneath there or what. But even here on the hood, quite a bit of compound as well. It kind of seems like it's really everywhere. So I'm honestly wondering, I'd be curious to know, maybe we can, with Kyle's ability to talk to these manufacturers, if he can reach out and kind of see what kind of QC these trucks go through in the paint department, because I'd be really interested to know how long they spend on this, because it seems like they're, I mean, even back here, like, it seems like they're spending a lot of time buffing these things, and wondering if that's really worthwhile to make the product better. Yeah, just really interesting here. So just wanted to show you guys those. Also noticed back here on the edge of the clear bra, it's also peeling up as well. They really have to figure out this clear bra thing. That is not great coming from the factory. I actually just reached out to my client to see what he wants to do on this one, because it's so severely pulling up, and I asked him about the other one. I'm assuming this one may peel as well, because I'm already seeing a slight bit of grime in there also. So very interesting. Let's get this thing wiped down, let's get the lights off, and I'll see how many sanding marks we can find. So I want to quickly talk about this spot here that I was seeing. So I wiped this section down with isopropyl alcohol. To my surprise, that little sanding nib mark that they made there was actually pretty reasonably compound and polished out. Now, what's kind of interesting here and what kind of freaks me out a little bit, and this is always with wet sanding on these types of vehicles, as I'm just noticing, there's another one up here, a little sanding mark. It takes a very fine eye to see the difference in texture, but I hope I can show you this. So what concerns me a lot of times is when you're removing that much texture, let's bring you in here. I put this piece of tape just to be able to easily see it. So notice here how it's textured and then the light is straight and then textured again. So right here in the center, the camera's freaking out there trying to focus. But right in the center there next to that piece of tape is where they denib that. And they're taking a lot of paint off. So this was my paint reading right in the middle of that, 369. Anytime I see a 3 before on the mills, that starts to concern me. So I'm going to be very, very mindful polishing this area after the fact and not compound this too hard because we're kind of getting almost a little low on paint. Now if I go right up here above it, right around here, so they polished that quite a bit. Maybe let's try up here. So we're at 5 mils there and around 3 in there. So I know this section, and I can tell here too, this has been cut down quite a bit, but they took a lot of texture out there. So again, if I come over here, 372, that's really concerning. That's pretty low. So I know that they buffed this a lot. Again, that textured mark in there, they've really gone to town on. And 421 down here. So again, guys, kind of be mindful of that and seeing those spots. And I don't want to hit this too hard on the compound because we always risk burning through. That's one of those things. This thing, I will say this every single video, these things are a lifesaver. If not, you're basically working in the dark and have no idea what you're doing. So I'm going to take some tape measurements throughout this after I get the whole car wiped down. Again, just did this little section to kind of prove a little point here and about wet sanding and things to kind of look out for. So I'm going to get that done and we'll go around the car, see how the paint's looking as far as thickness wise, see if we find any more weird areas and go from there. Lights out and we've got the trusty scan grip light. Now I want to address a quick comment about why I use this, and this is one of my best tools. What this allows me to do is essentially mimic the sun in an inside area. So I can easily identify and make sure that all the swirl marks and scratches are out, and yeah, it just makes it a lot easier to see on camera. So let's come up here and I'm going to show you that spot again. So that denibbing little sanding mark, a little bit of haze left over still, so we'll get that taken care of. This bedside is probably one of the worst. Curious as to what's happened here. Don't know if this is a Rivian thing, if this is from my client. Doesn't matter, we'll get it taken care of. As you can see there, really quite a bit of deep, deep scratches. Now let me show you on the other side, because this was one of the really, really good areas. Also, yeah, the tail lights, of course, as all that black plastic and tail lights and that stuff is always kind of hazy and swirly. This was one of the areas I originally saw and talked with my client about, where the clear bra on the gear tunnel there had a bunch of compound stuck in it, and that's because of those. So those were sanded down, apparently a denibbing mark there, compounded, or tried to just polish it and not fully removed. Glad I'm able to really get that on the camera. Now over here, let's come down the doors. Whoa, notice the spot right there, as you can see where the light is. Another mark there. Just kind of everywhere. Also note how much off-gassing is on the glass there, quite a bit. The trim, as always, check that spot out. That's been hit with a rotary there, those nice little holograms. We'll get that all taken care of. That's pretty common. Coming around here, this front fender as well, quite a bit of light scratching and haze. Nothing too severe. I will say reasonably overall, this truck looks decent. I know there's quite a few marks, but this is very, very common on new vehicles. Down here, this was one of those areas, remember we saw all that polish or compound on the actual trim there, and you can definitely see it with all that haze in there. And kind of stops right there, so you can see they've definitely done some polishing there. Same on the headlights and stuff, a little hazy, a little hard to pick up on camera. More haze over here. This was one of the areas that really got it, is you can really see all of that gross polishing haze on this and underneath the mirror there as well. So we're gonna do our best to make sure we get all of that out. Maybe a little tricky, especially here underneath that camera. Nice concave area, definitely been polished on quite a bit. I mean, reasonably overall, like I said, guys, it's had some work done to it. You can really see it on these pillars there. Tons and tons of haze. This is really magnified. It doesn't look horrible in person. The camera really makes it look terrible. So just something to make a note about. When you're looking at this outside, you can definitely see a little bit of that haze, but it's not too bad. We're gonna get that all out though. So overall, like I said, reasonably common on this truck, and I think that's okay. There's a few things, again, with some of those denebbing marks where they're completely taking out texture. I think that's a little scary. I'd say they're probably taking a little bit too much out. I would, in my personal opinion, if this were my truck, I would rather have a little denebbing mark and have more paint there than to have no paint in one area and it be a little short. So I'm gonna go through with my depth gauge again, just check everything over and make sure it's looking good. All right, so all prepped, ready to go here, and just want to quickly show you guys some paint readings. Now, remember on Kyle's Rivian, it was reasonably pretty common on most of the panels as far as paint depth gauges go, as far as the readings go. So one area, this is kind of the same that was on Kyle's. I remember this area being pretty low. So let's come in here and check that right now. 367, awfully low. 445 and 399. Very, very low there, actually, kind of surprising. Very similar to how Kyle's is. I wonder what the variance is or what they're doing different in that panel. Like why there's very, very little paint right here. Kind of interesting. On that back panel there, you saw 5.11 mils, 567. That's a good amount of paint. When you start getting in the fives, I like to see that more than not. Let's try back here on the tailgate. 384. A little bit low, not too severe. 477. 473. 5. Let's look down here because the other side was right around 5 as well. Pretty similar on the bedside. It's very good to see. Let's try this side door here. 363. Again, really kind of low on that door. Let's try the back door here in a similar area. 409. Yeah, so as we talked about, guys, a big difference always when getting these vehicles painted. And you never, just because it's 4 mils, the tricky thing is you never know how much is the color and how much is the clear. So just having a good reference guide is good to understand on paint. So I have looked over this before, just quickly. I think everything looks pretty reasonable. I'm definitely, like I talked about up here, going to be quite mindful of that, maybe even also along the doors there as well, knowing where it's slightly lower, so we may not hammer it as much to get every single last scratch out. Name of the game here is preserving the paint, protecting it while making it look as good as possible. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. Okay, so I had a quick look around like the hood a little bit with the scan grip. I decided that doing a test spot out there would not be the best idea. Reason I say that is there wasn't a ton of swirl marks up there, so it's kind of hard to tell what it's gonna really react. So I decided to start on the passenger side quarter panel. This is kind of a good in-between. It's got a few scratches, a few deep scratches, also some areas that look like they'd been polished before. So I'm gonna start here and kind of see how that goes. I've got my pads primed already. I've got my compound on here ready to start my test panel. So let's jump right into this now. I'm gonna throw on the scan grip light here just so I can see exactly what I'm doing. definitely have a few pretty deep scratches here. So let's throw this on here, do a couple passes, see where we're at, and then we'll kind of adjust accordingly. All right, wow, so first pass, well, first, I guess 3 passes, I would say, literally flawless. So I'm gonna stick with this combo until it doesn't start working for me. Now that rear, the bedside there had quite a bit of really deep scratches. So what I may do now is go test that section real quick and see what that does on that. If it doesn't pull those out after maybe 4 passes, instead of like the 3 we did here, I may bump up the compound in that area, maybe mixing a more aggressive compound with this, but I like how this looks. Again, we're talking about when we get working on paint, there's 2 different options, right? So if I go in and throw all the compound at it and haze it, get pretty much every single scratch out, the haze takes a long time to get out, which is important to realize because you're producing more work down the road, right? So when you're polishing, it takes a lot more to get all that haze out. So I want to find something that's cutting enough to where I can pull all the scratches out, but not really haze it. So I often will tweak it. I like to mix compounds a lot. You guys will hear me talk a lot about that throughout every single car. So far, what just happened here, very nice. So we're gonna keep going around this. If I find anything weird per se, I'll show you. I'd like to maybe pull in a nice 50-50 on an area, show you some of those blemishes that we can get out from those denebbing marks and show you how it should look now. So yeah, jump right into it. So I'd figured we'd go ahead and test this spot here. I got my pad blown out again, and this will be a good test. Now, if I throw the scan grip light on here, you can see quite a bit of deep scratches. Yeah, so this was, I guess, probably one of the worst areas. Up here, really bad. Now, a quick note here. This is PPF, right? So we had talked about that before. Now, instead of trying to go back and get every single little piece of compound out of there, we're still gonna have to clean that anyway, but I don't wanna get a bunch of compound onto the PPF, and it's really not good to get compound normally or polish really on PPF. Now you can polish it, but I just prefer to not have to like go in and clean absolutely everything, so that's why I tape that off. So let's just jump right into it here. I'll show you guys real time. I'll show you quick before and after here. I'm gonna do this small section, get my buffer set, probably on 4. I'm not throwing a lot of speed at this, a lot of heat or pressure. I kind of always start at a medium pressure, kind of medium speed, and kind of adjust accordingly. That, along with compound and pads, is what makes the difference. If you put too much heat and too much pressure, you get different results, whereas if you're a little bit lighter at a lower speed. So all things to consider when buffing. Okay, so we did 2 passes, give or take there, and I can already see there's a few deeper defects that I was not able to remove, but you can see we actually removed quite a few of those with only 2 passes. So the reason I started doing 2 passes is I was looking at this in my headlamp and I was seeing some of these deeper ones, knowing that I'm not going to get those out. So what I'll do now is I'll go blow my pad out, I'll reapply compound, do another 2 passes and check it. I think that should be able to get pretty much 99% of that out. But I'm really liking so far how this paint's reacting. Again, this is the first time working with Rivian paint. I know people say paint is paint, but every manufacturer's paint is different. They all feel different when you're buffing. They react different to compounds. On really soft paint, your compound can kind of, I call it kind of like curdling, where it makes these weird abrasive marks because you're pulling so much residue off the paint. This is a really nice in between. Very happy so far. It doesn't seem like it's super hard paint and it doesn't seem soft. Kind of nice right in the middle, kind of what I would want as a detailer. So I'm gonna go blow my pad out and we'll see how that's looking. Now, a lot of the scratches are in here, and this section kind of does this, so it's a little concave. What I'm gonna do here is actually bump my speed up a little bit so that the pad is spinning more. If it's stalling in this area because it's a little bit concave, I'm not gonna get as much cut there. So I'm gonna bump the speed up just to 4.5 amps. All right, immediately as I'm looking at this, we got 99% of it out. There's one deep scratch right here. I think likely I'm gonna leave that just because I don't wanna really cut at it. It looks pretty darn deep. Yeah, so very, very happy. I'm gonna stick with this combination. So if you guys are curious, just this particular car, what seems to be working, I'm using a Meguiar's cutting disc with Meguiar's M110. Couple drops on there, medium pressure on it, medium kind of arm speed. I'm not flying through each pass, going up and down quickly. I like to let the machine do its work, let the compound work. And yeah, so I think that's the combination for this. Very, very happy so far with it. And we'll keep knocking this out. Definitely very, very happy with the results. I think this thing is really popping. The clarity in the paint is just stunning. Show you guys this one more time with the light. It's just nice and crisp. It has a beautiful golden metallic in it as well. So very, very happy. Maybe able to see that one really deep scratch if the camera will pick it up. May come in there with a 3-inch if I see fit, but I think we're pretty good for the most part. All right, we're well underway with the paint correction on the Rivian, looking absolutely stunning. Also, you'll note, charging up right now. This is a service that I provide on electric cars. It's not a crazy charger, but since the cars are here 3 to 4 days, the 110 outlet over here does plenty fine. I just find it's kind of nice when the client has their car or truck in this instance perfectly cleaned and actually charged up for them, so they don't have to worry about that. Let's talk real quick, and I had a conversation with my client last night. I gave him a call and asked him kind of what his opinion was on this clear bra. The truck was pretty dirty when it came in, so we weren't able to really see all the edges like this. I'm gonna bring you guys closer in here. I know I showed this before, but what this edge is doing is it's on the rounded surface, kind of like right here, and it's already started to peel up. And we have a really big dirt line there. It's kind of running all over this panel. It's also lifting on the edge here and here. So we had the conversation of what's the best route for this. I personally do not offer clear bra anymore as a service. I think a video definitely needs to be made about that. My thoughts on clear bra in general, be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think there's use cases for it, right? If you have $1 million supercar, hypercar, that type of deal with very special paint, I get it. For a daily driver, I personally find that it's overkill. My car, as you guys know, has no paint protection film on it, and I just ceramic coated the car and do touch up here and there. Does it look perfect? No, but neither does clear bra. So that's just a quick insight on my opinion on that. Now, the other one over here, this piece of film, if I bring it in, now this is somewhat vulnerable of a spot, which is why they put this here, but look at the fingers down here and the lifting already. So this just has so much dirt already locked under it. Just not a great install, and this is directly from Rivian, as I spoke about earlier. So we're going to remove this. Kind of the game plan that we talked about is we're going to remove those pieces. So here, the one on the driver's side is already removed, and the gear tunnel. Now, he's going to drive this for a little bit and see how it does. Like if those areas really start to get hammered, you know, he's at the point where he can replace those pieces, and I think that wouldn't be a horrible option. But for the time being, what we're going to do is remove these, do the paint correction underneath, and ceramic coat this. So if he decides in a month even, hey, I want that piece refilmed and that piece as well. All that needs to be done is to buff the coating off, apply a new piece of film, and he's good to go. He's already got a few rock chips on the front, which is why I discussed the kind of option of taking that off with him. I just like to give my opinion, my feedback on kind of these types of scenarios and what the best option is. You know, we talked about he's not going to be off-roading this thing. This is a daily driver for him. So he's gonna accumulate some rock chips, which he's not super concerned about, which is why we're taking that off. So just wanted to share that input on that, because really kind of really stink to get the entire truck looking perfect, all the trim dialed in and everything, and still have a bunch of marks like that. So that's the reason we're doing that. We've got the whole driver's side done, paint correction. I'm gonna come down these doors and the bed, and then we'll actually get these bigger pieces of film taken off outside safely and easily. So going very, very well here. The truck just looks awesome. The hood's actually already been paint corrected. Still needs the polish, but look at the gloss in that. Really, really nice. Getting quite a bit of oxidation off the paint. So the pad is turning from a bright white to a little bit of yellow. Actually, in person, it's impossible to pick up on camera, but say like I did a 50-50 here, it's a lot clearer after I get it buffed, which is not really surprising, but a little bit of oxidation already pulling off some of that clear coat there when we're buffing it. So very, very interesting, but looking super nice. We've got this all dialed in back here. Got all of the light bar. These are pretty swirled out quite a bit, which is very, very common, but got those compounded. We'll definitely need a ton of refining and definitely need to get my Rupes hybrid out and get in between all the Rivian badge here on the back, but looking fantastic so far. So keep plugging away here and I'll keep you guys updated. Okay, so we've got most of the paint correction done on the truck. Now we're removing the clear bra as we talked about earlier. As you can see, sun is setting now, kind of a long day, a little bit more paint correction than I kind of anticipated just going into it. The truck looks really good. There was a few deeper scratches that took some time to get through and go after, but nothing too severe. I would say we've got probably 98 to 99% of the scratches out. There was one, like I showed you guys earlier, in this deeper area that it was just a little bit too deep, didn't want to fully attack it. So yeah. So now we're pulling clear bra. I've actually already pulled the other side and I was playing around with it and leaving a ton of adhesive, lots of tension on there, and I'll pull you guys around and show you, but I'm gonna start pulling this down, and I'm not using any heat because this side is actually coming off nicely. No residue whatsoever. Very, very odd that the other side was a lot tackier than this. So I'm wondering if you guys are kind of aware with clear bra, what typically happens is you use either a slip solution or a tack solution. And a tack solution can be anywhere from water and alcohol, or a lot of guys are now using, and I've been seeing, some white vinegar, which is kind of interesting. I believe it's white distilled vinegar. Not a PPF installer here, but yeah, I've been seeing that out there. Now, this side is really coming off nice. I'm just kind of taking my time with it, pulling it off, leaving little to no residue. So kind of interesting there. As you guys can see, just kind of pulling here, not going crazy on it, and the paint looks great underneath. Again, we can talk about clear bra for a long time. I think it'd be fun for Kyle and I to make a video because I think we both have kind of different impressions on clear bra, and would like to have a discussion about it because I think it's an interesting one, and I think it's one that needs to be had because I personally don't think that clear bra is made for everybody in every car. Definitely has its use cases. I totally get it in some circumstances, and others, I just kind of think it's kind of a crazy product that honestly is a bit overkill. Like we've talked about many times, my personal Tesla Model 3 has just had a paint correction, ceramic coating, no touch-up paint. I've got 13,000 miles on it, and the paint still looks pretty darn good. I get some nice touch-up paint that is an exact match, and it's honestly impossible. Well, it is possible, but it's really hard to see the rock chips. So, you know, talking about clear bra, just kind of in general, and I've had this conversation with a lot of clients of mine, is that if you get a rock chip in paint, you're able to go back in, quickly touch it up. But if you get a big rock chip and it actually goes through the film, now you've got this weird clear spot on it, and it just kind of looks weird over time. So yeah, I mean, again, there's use cases for it. That's not what this video is to talk about. Just kind of doing a little bit of work and talk here on my opinions on it. And by no means is my opinion the only opinion, and I totally understand that. Just for my business, I just haven't found that it's the greatest end-all be-all product. To be honest, I could probably increase my revenue by 3 to 4 times just doing clear bra. I just personally don't believe in the product, so I don't offer it as a service. I was and have been trained by XPEL down in San Antonio, went and did their full paint protection film class, went through the whole process, and have whatever you call it, your license to be able to install clear bra through XPEL, and I just haven't used it. I really don't love this stuff, and again, needs to have another video talked about, but yeah. So again, this is pulling off super nice here. This had just a ton of dirt on the edges. I'm kind of surprised. What seems to be happening with Rivian in this certain scenario is that they're using pre-cut film. And the problem with pre-cut film, and it's good and bad, right? Because you're not cutting on the truck, but you're also, if you get it slightly misaligned, then you're having areas like this that aren't able to sit down. The other thing with a panel like this, they're not wrapping the edges. So that's kind of one of those trade-offs as well. And when you don't wrap the edges, what happens a lot, especially trucks like these, that their kind of main focus, right, is to be an adventure vehicle, to take them up in the mountains, go rock crawling, do stuff like that. And in clear bra, all the dust on every single edge sticks to that, and it looks horrible. Kyle was just here a little bit ago, and I was looking at his white Rivian, and pretty much all the way around it just has a nice layer of dust, and he's got a lot of peeling edges like this already. So kind of interesting to talk about there. But anyways, this is coming off nice. Once I get this off, I'll do a little adhesive remover. I've got just a few little spots, nothing too severe, and we'll paint correct this, and then we're gonna get the truck re-washed. And we are off with the clear bra. So let me, I'm gonna show you the difference, which is very strange on why this side came off so easy compared to the other side. I'll show you that right now. All right, so let's quickly talk here. So this is the panel you guys just watched me take off, and I've got a little bit of adhesive around, nothing too crazy. There's a little bit more down here, but what I wanna show you, what's kind of honestly strange, is I did the same procedure on this side, and look at how much adhesive is on there. I tried using a little heat, a little bit of hot water, and yeah, tons and tons of adhesive. I'm kind of interested because normally when you install film, it should come off like the other side, just in general, right? This hasn't been on here for 10 years or something like that. The adhesive was very strong on here. What kind of is interesting, I'm wondering if they're installing this, because you notice down here is a lot less. I wonder if they're using a lot of tack solution when installing instead of slip on this. And kind of strange. So next on the process here, we're going to get the truck re-washed. We've got the paint corrected. It's looking absolutely stunning. And we're going to go through kind of more of a cleaning process. So The wheels, these really need some love. You see the tires really looking nice and dull, as well as, see if the truck's a little locked right now, but on the kind of door jamb areas, we've got a lot of dust and grime as well. The bed needs to be rinsed out. And the reason I do this, I save this for the time because we've got a lot of compound dust everywhere. So it just really kind of doesn't make sense to clean all of this first, do the paint correction. Let me show you what the dust looks like up here. There's just a nice thin layer everywhere. You can really see it here on the window. That coats everything. It goes in every nook and cranny. So that's why I just leave it alone, areas that need to be cleaned again anyways, because it's just kind of silly to make extra work for yourself. Let me show you back here as well some of the door jambs we're going to get cleaned out. Let's check out in the truck bed here. All this dirt and grime, if I flip this up, nice and dirty. So we're going to get that all taken care of in the next video. I think I'm going to end this one off here at the ending paint correction stage. And in the next video, like I said, we're going to be rewashing this. And then we're going to clean up all the door jambs. We're really going to work on all this trim down here, and I'm going to see what works, what doesn't work, kind of run through that process a little bit. This truck will also get repolished, so getting any of the little marks from compounding, it's going to pop quite a bit more. Now this truck is not getting a full ceramic wheel coating. I am just going to coat the face of the wheels just for a nice favor for my client. I absolutely love this truck. This thing is just amazing. So looking forward to the next video and hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you for joining us for another out of spec detailing video here at Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. Have a great day.